You're watching Story Scroll. Real stories, raw emotions, and endings you'll never forget. Let's scroll into today's tale.
My wife left me and our kids for her work husband, and I still can't wrap my head around it. I never thought I'd be writing something like this, but I honestly don't know where else to go right now. I'm 34M. My wife is 33F. We've been married for 9 years and together for almost 12. We have 2 kids, a 6-year-old son and a 3-year-old daughter. They are my entire world. A week ago, my wife left me. Not just me, she left our kids too. And she left us for her work husband. Even typing that phrase makes my stomach turn. Before anyone asks, no, this didn't come after some huge fight or dramatic event. That's part of what's killing me. One day we were a family dealing with normal life stress, and the next day I was a single dad explaining to my kids why mommy wasn't coming home. Looking back, our marriage wasn't perfect, but I genuinely thought it was solid. We both work full-time. Money has been tight the last couple of years with inflation, daycare costs, and just life in general. Date nights became rare. We were tired. We argued about dumb things like chores and schedules, but I thought we were still a team. I'll be honest about my faults because I know Reddit will ask. I work long hours. I've been trying to move up in my company so we could have more stability. That meant coming home exhausted, sometimes distracted. There were nights I chose sleep over talking. I didn't always notice when she seemed off. I regret that now more than I can put into words. About 1.5 years ago, my wife started a new job. She seemed excited at first. New environment, new people. I was happy for her. She deserved that. A few months in, she started mentioning one coworker a lot. I'll call him Mark. At first, it seemed harmless. Mark is so funny. Mark helped me with this project. Mark really understands how stressful this place can be. Then it slowly became constant. She'd talk about him at dinner. She'd laugh at texts while sitting next to me on the couch. She'd be on her phone late at night, tilting the screen away when I walked by. When I asked who she was texting, she'd say, "Just work stuff." One time, I jokingly said, "Sounds like you like this guy more than me," and she snapped back that I was being insecure. She told me, "He's married, relax." That line stuck with me. He's married. Like that automatically made everything okay. Over time, I noticed other changes. She stayed late at work more often. Suddenly, there were weekend team events and after-work drinks I wasn't invited to. She stopped wearing her wedding ring, saying it wasn't practical at work and she didn't want it damaged. I didn't like it, but again, she told me I was overreacting. Every time I brought up how uncomfortable I felt, she'd flip it on me. I was controlling. I didn't trust her. I was projecting my own guilt for being emotionally distant. So I shut up. I told myself I was being paranoid. Meanwhile, the emotional distance between us grew. She stopped confiding in me. Conversations became short and transactional. Kids, bills, schedules. Intimacy felt forced. It was like she was already gone, just physically still there. Even the kids noticed. My son asked why mommy was always tired. My daughter clung to her more, and she'd snap more easily, then apologize later. I kept telling myself this was just a phase, work stress, burnout. Then came the confrontation. A couple of weeks ago, after she came home late again without calling, I finally asked her directly if there was someone else. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't accusing. I was desperate. She exploded. She told me our marriage was suffocating, that she felt trapped, that she'd been unhappy for years. News to me. She said I never listened, never understood her emotional needs. And then she said the words I can't stop replaying in my head. He understands me in ways you never did. I knew right then it was over. 3 days later, while I was at work, she packed a bag. Just one. She didn't pack the kids' things. She didn't say goodbye to them. She left a note on the counter that said, "I need to be happy. Please don't make this harder than it has to be." She moved in with him. Yes, that him. I came home to an empty house and 2 confused kids asking where mommy was. I broke down in my bedroom while they watched cartoons because I didn't know how to explain abandonment to a 6-year-old. Since then, she's barely contacted the kids. Short, cold texts,
no calls. When I asked if she wanted to see them, she said she needs space right now and that she doesn't want them to see her while emotions are high. I don't recognize the woman I married. I'm exhausted. I'm angry. I'm heartbroken. And somehow I still love her, which makes me feel pathetic. I'm trying to keep it together for my kids, but every night after they go to bed, I fall apart. I keep wondering what I missed, when it stopped being us, when some guy from her office became more important than her family. So I guess that's why I'm here. Did I miss something obvious? Was this inevitable? And most importantly, how do I help my kids through this when I can barely breathe myself? Any advice is appreciated.
Update. First, I want to thank everyone who commented or messaged me after my original post. I didn't respond to many comments, but I read all of them late at night after putting my kids to bed. Some of you were blunt, some kind, some painfully accurate. I needed all of it more than I realized. I also need to say this up front. I truly did not expect what happened next. I thought this would be a slow, miserable unraveling. Instead, everything blew up in a matter of days. A few days after I made my post, I got a message on Facebook from a woman I didn't recognize. She said she was married to the man my wife left me for, the work husband. My hands were shaking just reading her name. I'll call her Emily. Her message was short but direct. She said she had reason to believe our spouses were having an affair and wanted to confirm some details. I stared at my phone for a long time before responding. Part of me still hoped this was all some misunderstanding, even after everything. It wasn't. We ended up talking on the phone that night. Emily sounded exhausted, but calm in a way that told me she'd already cried herself dry. She told me she'd found messages between my wife and her husband going back months, not just flirty texts, but explicit ones, plans, declarations of love, complaints about their marriages. According to her, this wasn't some sudden emotional connection. It was both emotional and physical, and it had been going on for at least 8 months. 8 months. She told me my wife knew all about their kids, knew about their family vacations, knew Emily was suspicious and hurting, and continued anyway. At the same time, my wife had been telling her husband that our marriage was basically over and that she was only staying with me for the kids until they could be together openly. Emily also confirmed something that made me physically sick. My wife had promised him she would leave me, and he had promised her he would leave his wife. They had apparently talked about moving in together, blending families, starting fresh. While my wife was tucking our kids into bed and kissing them goodnight, she was planning a future without them. Emily found out because her husband got sloppy. She confronted him with proof. At first, he denied everything. Then, when she showed him screenshots, he broke down. And that's when everything changed. Emily didn't scream, she didn't beg. She went straight into damage control mode for herself and her kids. She reported the affair to HR at their company. She told both sides of the family. She documented everything. She made it very clear that if he didn't cut contact with my wife immediately and recommit to his family, she would proceed with divorce and further exposure. He panicked. Within 48 hours, my wife went from being his soulmate to an inconvenience. He blocked her number, blocked her on social media, told her, according to Emily, that he needed to focus on fixing his marriage and that what they did was a mistake. So the man she left her husband and children for chose his reputation, his comfort, and his stability over her. I found all of this out before my wife even reached out to me. When she did call, it was late at night. I didn't recognize the number at first. When I answered and heard her voice, she was crying so hard I could barely understand her. She said he used her, that he lied to her, that she blew up her life for nothing. She said she realized now what she threw away and that she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. What she didn't say was anything about our kids. Not once did she ask how they were doing. Not once did she apologize for leaving them. The entire conversation was about her pain, her humiliation, her fear of being alone. I told her very calmly that I wasn't interested in discussing reconciliation. I told her that regardless of what happened with him, she made a choice to walk out on her children. That wasn't something another man forced her to do. She got angry then, said I was being cruel, said I was kicking her while she's down, that I was acting like I never made mistakes. I ended the call. The fallout didn't stop there. HR at her job placed her on leave while they investigated. A week later, she was terminated. The affair violated multiple policies, and since Emily had receipts, there was no way to deny it. She couldn't stay where she was living anymore. He obviously wasn't an option, and she couldn't afford the place on her own. She tried staying with friends, people who had supported her at first when she painted herself as a woman choosing happiness. Once the truth came out, those doors started closing. Invitations stopped, messages went unanswered. One of her closest friends apparently told her she couldn't support someone who abandons their kids. Her parents were furious, not at me, at her, especially when they realized she had left their grandchildren behind, without a plan, without warning. They've been checking in on the kids constantly, bringing food, offering help. They've stopped taking her calls. Her siblings won't respond to her messages at all. Meanwhile, I'm watching my kids process all of this in their own ways. My son is angry. He asked me why his mom picked another man instead of us. I didn't know how to answer that without breaking down. My daughter cries at night asking when mommy is coming home. We've started therapy, for them and for me. The therapist has been helping me figure out how to be honest without poisoning them against their mother. It's one of the hardest balancing acts I've ever had to do. Right now, my kids don't want to see her. I haven't forced it. I won't. I've told her that any contact needs to be about them, not her guilt, not her loneliness. She didn't like that answer. As of yesterday, I've officially filed for divorce. I've also retained a custody lawyer. I never wanted things to go this way, but I'm done being her backup plan. I'm done protecting her from the consequences of her own choices. I still have moments where I grieve the woman I thought I married, but that woman wouldn't have walked away from her children. This hurts. It still hurts every day. But for the first time since she left, I feel something like clarity. I'm choosing my kids, even if she didn't.
Final update. This will be my last update. First, I want to thank everyone who took the time to comment, message, or even just read my story. When I first posted, I was drowning, exhausted, angry, heartbroken, and questioning my own reality. I didn't know if sharing any of this would help, but strangely it did. Reading the perspectives of people who had been through similar situations helped me feel less alone and less crazy. Life has finally stabilized enough that I can sit down and write this without my hands shaking. The legal side of things is finished now. The divorce was finalized last month. Based on everything that happened, especially the documented abandonment, the court granted me primary physical and legal custody of our kids. My ex-wife was ordered to pay child support. It's not a huge amount given her current situation, but it's something. As for visitation, the judge ordered limited, supervised visits for now. The court specifically cited the sudden abandonment and lack of consistent contact in the months following her departure. Hearing the word abandonment used so plainly in a courtroom was surreal, but also validating. I wasn't being dramatic. This wasn't a rough patch. It was exactly what it looked like. My kids are safer and more stable because of that ruling, and that's what matters most to me. Outside of the legal consequences, my ex-wife's social world has essentially collapsed. Friends who once rallied around her stopped answering her calls. People who initially believed her narrative quietly disappeared once the full truth came out.
Her former best friend, someone she'd known since college, sent her a final message saying, "I can't support what you did, especially to your kids." After that, she blocked her completely. Her family has also drawn hard boundaries. Holidays came and went without invitations. No financial help, no emotional safety net. Her parents still have a relationship with me and the kids, but they've made it clear to her that they won't enable her choices. From what I understand, they told her she's welcome to rebuild trust someday, but only through consistent actions, not words. She is, for the first time in her adult life, truly alone. A few weeks ago, she made one last attempt to reconnect, not romantically, but emotionally. She sent me a long message, pages worth of apologies, regrets, explanations. She said she finally understood the damage she'd done. She said she missed the kids every second. She said she hated herself for choosing a fantasy over her family. I read it once, then I read it again the next morning. I didn't respond to the parts meant to ease her conscience. I didn't argue, I didn't comfort her. I replied with a short, factual message about the kids' schedules, therapy updates, and the conditions required for visitation going forward. I told her that any communication with me needs to be about the children and their well-being, nothing else. She didn't like that, but I didn't bend. As for the man she left us for, his life didn't magically recover either. From what I've heard through mutual acquaintances, his marriage technically survived, but just barely. Trust is gone. His reputation at work is damaged beyond repair. He was transferred to another department and demoted out of any leadership track. People know who he is now, even if no one says it out loud. The fantasy they built burned down quickly, and neither of them walked away unscathed. Meanwhile, my life looks quieter and healthier. The kids are doing better. Therapy has helped more than I can express. My son laughs again without forcing it. My daughter sleeps through the night more often than not. We've built new routines, movie nights, weekend pancakes, small traditions that remind us we're a family, even if it doesn't look like we thought it would. I'm in therapy too. I've learned that loving someone doesn't mean tolerating abandonment, that being patient doesn't mean being a doormat, and that real love doesn't leave children behind in pursuit of excitement. I won't pretend I'm completely healed. Some scars don't vanish, they fade. But I no longer wake up questioning my worth or replaying every moment wondering how I could have prevented this. Some choices aren't caused by neglect or stress. Some choices are simply selfish. If there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's this. Affairs don't start at work. They start with disrespect, for boundaries, for commitments, and for the people you trust most. To everyone who supported me, challenged me, and reminded me to put my kids first when my heart was breaking, thank you. She chose fantasy over family. Now she lives with the consequences.
Thanks for watching Story Scroll. Hit that bell and stay tuned for the next story that will move your heart.